From Learfield on the Mustangs Sports Network, this is the Pony Express Show with head coach Rhett Lashley, presented by SMU Cox School of Business, your ally for life. Visit coxgrad.com to learn more. Now at Ozona Grill and Bar on Greenville Avenue, here is your host, Rich Phillips.
Good evening. Welcome to another week of the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. It's here for the Fidelts out here tonight, huh? Great group showing up with us here tonight at Ozona Grill and Bar. Thanks for those of you joining us on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page as well. We do this every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock here at Ozona. But take note, not next Wednesday because we have a bye next week, so no show next Wednesday night. We'll bring the head coach of the Mustangs up here shortly, but first, let's welcome to the stage our guest this week, special teams coordinator and running backs coach, Kyle Cooper.
Thanks for having me. How about this?
How about it?
What, we got half-price burgers tonight? Is that the deal?
I think we do for students, yes.
All right, let's go. I need one.
I think they came out to see you. They heard that Coop was talking tonight, and they said, we got to go see him.
Something says that's probably not all 100% true.
That's
but
okay. We'll go with
we're
that.
We're good with
right?
it.
Good with it. New role for you this year, working with the running backs. How's that transition been?
It's been good when you got players like Brashard Smith. You know what I mean? You got guys who you can get the ball, and they know what to do with it. And then we, Junior just, hey, you want to play running back this week?
Sure,
let's do it. So you got good players, and they can make people miss and make plays, and that's done in the recruiting process. Certainly not done by me or the coaches in practice. Those guys can make plays.
Yeah. Boy, at one point the other night, though, I was like, man, we're running out of guys. Brashard got dinged up and went to the locker room, and I was just trying to check. I was like, who else we got dressed here tonight?
Yeah, no, Coach King. We can get De'Erica to suit up as a running back. He could still do it. So.
Hate to see those injuries. You had, of course, Kamar Wheaton before the season, Jalen Knighton a couple of weeks ago. I know they're still around. They're providing a whole lot right now. I know I did see them, unfortunately, on crutches going to the locker room the other night.
Yeah, we're golf carting them around, getting them to class. You know, they're academic soldiers right now. So we're going to get them right. And then, obviously, Rooster and Kamar helping out Brashard, who's new to the running back position. I mean, in meetings, Rooster's very vocal with Brashard. He's like an assistant coach at times.
And the loss of Jalen, I think some people may forget. He was a leading rusher here last year. That's a huge, huge spot and a lot of production that you've lost there without him.
Yeah, no, and it's kind of heartbreaking, but he's got another year, and so just his energy is missed as much as his on the field play. Just his energy he brings every day, and like I say, he's still doing that in kind of an assistant coach role. Sometimes I got to rein Rooster in a little bit. Like, hey, that's not really what we want there, but he's great.
Brashard Smith is 13th in the nation in rushing yards, 509. 7th in total touchdowns with 8. He's had 3 100-yard games out of the first 5. You mentioned it. He's a guy that hadn't played a ton of running back. How has he grabbed hold of this opportunity here this year?
Yeah, we had a feeling that he had it in him when we were with him at Miami. We had some formations and plays where he was in the backfield, and then he did a tiny bit. He got a little taste of it last year at Miami. They used him in some inside zone stuff, but it really goes back to his youth. He was in little kids football. He was a running back, and kind of like once you learn how to ride a bike, all you got to do is get back on that bike. And he's a natural field runner, and it's like I said, it's all coaching.
It is
with Brashard.
Of course.
No, he I'm telling you what, he's got an element of and tools in his bag in terms of catching passes with his receiver background, and we try to get him the ball in a multitude of ways.
Yeah, he looked like a wide receiver for sure on one play the other night, that 33-yarder.
Yeah, we liked the matchup there, and then he went up and old school mossed the dude and let the whole stadium know, kind of posed, and we paused that in the running back room for sure, and he was laughing about it. So I saw it on his Instagram too yesterday. So
it is a whole lot different though when you're out there at receiver. When you get the football, it's safeties and corners. When you get the ball in the backfield, it's D linemen and linebackers. That's a way different challenge that he has to face there.
Yeah, and you see it on Sundays too. And that's how they utilize those guys on Sundays. And if he keeps doing what he's doing and does everything he needs to do, he may have a chance to do that next year. But for now, we're happy he's with us and being very, very productive in a lot of ways, and he'll continue to be.
And I saw that note on our social here today that in PFF, Pro Football Focus, he is the highest rated offensive player in P4 this year.
Yes, that's pretty impressive.
What all goes
there's
into
a lot of
what all goes into that ranking?
into the ranking?
Yeah.
Well, they got guys. PFF is a service that is a good service. We use just more data, more analytics stuff. But they have guys at every game, so they'll do their own grades, and so that's what that is. They kind of plus minus on every play, and Burchard has a lot of pluses and not a lot of minuses, and with his 95.4, I think his grade is.
So,
it's a little higher than what my grade is for him. But we'll let him have that shine on that. So
7.3 yards per carry, I'm sure helps out too.
Yes,
that is a ridiculous
and those
number.
guys up front are doing a great job covering people up. And so if there was nothing there, it would still be hard to get 7 yards per carry.
Yes.
But he's getting, I think, actually the data says that he generates about half of that. So he's got 3.5 until he gets to contact, then he gets the other half of that. So
nice. Another guy who hadn't played a ton of running back, but sure played a ton of running back on Saturday night, you mentioned, was Roderick Daniels Jr. Stepped in. At one point, Burchard goes to the locker room, and he's the guy all of a sudden. Career-high 15 carries for him, and he sure didn't shy away from contact, it looked like, either.
No, he's a football player. He can do it all. He can do. I mean, he could put him out in wide out and slot, and I think he could do pretty much everything but play center or right guard. He's just a fun football player to coach. And now that I've had 1 week of really getting in him in the thick of things, you can see that he's just so smart. He's very, very smart. It doesn't take a lot to get him in the right place at the right time.
Had to be thrilled they reviewed it and gave him the touchdown, right?
Yeah, it
was
was funny. So it was a timeout. And I was going to put Burchard in, and Junior looked at me, and he said, "I want a touchdown." I said, "Okay." When Junior says he wants a touchdown, like a punt, we've seen him return punts for touchdown. Yeah. When he said, "I want a touchdown," I said, "Okay, you're in." And then Burchard looked at me. He's like, "Am I in?" I'm like, "No, Junior." He's like, "Okay, but I got us down there." I'm like, "Okay, you'll get other opportunities, bro." But he was happy for him, man. Really happy for him.
L.J. Johnson missed last week with a concussion. I know he's been back at practice this week. Should be cleared to play Saturday at Louisville. Obviously, he's kind of a different element in your running back group, given his size and his running style. It's got to be huge to get him back this week.
Yeah, he bigger back that is definitely have a role. And LJ does everything right, in terms of all assets of the game. And that thunder, he'll bring that thunder piece to Burchard and Junior's Lightning. And looking forward to seeing him go. He got going a little bit early in TCU before he had his injury, and he was rolling, and he looks good in practice, and we'll see.
Tell us a little bit about your freshman, Derek McFall. We've seen a little bit of him, and I know I've seen a lot of speed out of him when he gets the football in his hands.
Yeah, he's got a bright future. Great kid. Hopefully, we can peek some of you guys in the room. We'll get to know him. Great kid, wants to do right, and is explosive, and kind of goes in that Burchard Jr. bucket in terms of just athlete and really, really good hands out of the backfield. Kind of what our running backs are, are in this offense. Is you can do a lot of things, and he's very smart and very athletic, and East Texas kid. Yeah. So local guy that we really, really like.
Also, this year, second year as the special teams coordinator. First off, a question I've always had is, how do you go about the process of determining who all's playing? I mean, you got so many different parts and pieces, from kick return, punt return, coverage units, kick coverage, field goal. How do you go through that whole process to come up with who the 11 are out there each time?
It starts with spring ball and then builds on to fall camp, and you start building depth charts out. And on each of the four core, kickoff, return, punt, and punt return, you got about a 4-deep depth chart. And then fall camp day one starts, and then every day is I spend probably close to 45 minutes to an hour every day with my special teams assistant coach Casey Horney, and we just look at the depth chart and say, okay, he's doing he's doing punt and he's doing kickoff return. Do you think we could increase his role here, or do we need to take it back a little bit? Is he playing a lot of defensive snaps? Is he playing a lot of offensive snaps? So that's a whole staff discussion that we have every week.
Yeah, you got to kind of buy some minutes here, buy some snaps here for some guys, obviously. Like you said, some of the heavy load guys. And, hey, one of your heavy load guys, Burchard, is in the mix, but it's because he's an all-conference player last year as a kick returner, and we've seen it just his few opportunities. He's got a little something back there.
Yeah, no, that's where he's special. That's another reason why he's special, is that it goes back to him just feeling natural in terms of angles, in terms of outrunning guys or making a miss in a certain phone booth type scenario. But he's really, really dynamic there, and he'll continue to be a weapon that we need to get going on that unit.
Roderick, as you mentioned, had the touchdown against TCU. Had a couple of rough moments the other night. I thought the second one was a penalty.
We talked about that after the game, that we thought it was close to being a kick-catch interference, but I trust Junior back there. It was a day where, Florida State's punter is really, really good.
Yes,
Master Romano, he's probably a Ray Guy finalist at the end of the year. So he's putting a lot of height on it and moving him around. So all those – he was basically playing – center field at times in terms of running his butt over there really, really far and trying to catch it. And, he's a risky guy, which, is good and bad at times. But there's no one on the team I trust more than Roderick back there.
And then Colin Rogers makes the special teams coach look brilliant, doesn't he?
Hey, you go 5 for 5 a couple weeks ago. You definitely do. Listen, we're happy we have him. We're happy, we got him for another year. And I think he's about to break the school's all-time points leader.
He's
something
8 or something away.
Hopefully this year he does.
Yes. Hopefully this week.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
he's already broken the field goal record and the PAT record. So
yes,
that's
and special teams overall in 2024 through 5 games. If you take away 5 plays, it's one of the better units in our conference and in the country as a whole. Special teams unit, two muff punts, okay, 2 plays on punt, and then last week we had a blocked field goal. So 5 plays. I know that's 5 plays on offense, defense. It's 2nd and 12, or first down, another first down. Special teams gets a lot of highlighted on that. So.
Yeah, there's not as many snaps. So
right, no, a lot of snaps.
Yeah, they get magnified. You mentioned Casey Horney, new addition to your staff. What does he do with your kickers?
He's with them every day that we're not in. When we go offense, defense, if we're on Pettis, he's in the stadium. If we're inside, he's in the stadium working with those guys and just raising their level from fall camp day 1 to now. As you've seen it with Collins' continued development, and then Isaac Pearson has gotten better and better, and working with those guys every day. And then just in terms of on the field, he's really good. He's got a lot of experience at big places doing special teams. So.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of Isaac Pearson. That's a good thing, though. No offense to punters.
Funny story. So his dad, he's from outside Melbourne, and his dad flew to come watch him punt against TCU. And he did not punt against TCU. He watched him hold field goals. But thankfully he got to stick around and watch him this.
Good.
He did stick around in the thousands of miles of flights. He watched him punt once, unfortunately.
Good. Yes. Well, good for him.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he did have to punt. So.
I did tell in the team to the special teams meeting on Monday or Tuesday, Coach Lashley's in the special teams meeting, and I said, Isaac, you'll probably have to punt this week. Going into Florida State. And Coach Lashley's like, well, thanks, Coop. It's like, okay. Chances are. And, we punted like, what, twice, 3 times?
2 or 3, yeah. Not very much. So.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, well, let's keep it going. Let's keep those special teams plays going, and let's keep Rashard rolling.
Let's do it.
I like that. All right.
Hey, let's go.
Kyle Cooper, thanks for joining us here.
Thank you, guys.
Tonight.
Appreciate y'all.
SMU special teams coordinator and running backs coach for the Mustangs. Don't forget, each week here at Ozona Grill and Bar, you can ask questions for our Ask the Coach segment coming up a little bit later. You can submit questions with our staff on site, also online each week at smumustangs.com. And we'll talk to the head coach coming up next here on the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. Welcome back here to the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. We do it Wednesday nights, 7 o'clock here at Ozona Grill and Bar on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page. And let's hear it for the head coach of the Mustangs, Rhett Lashley. How are you?
I'm great. This is awesome. And the last 2 weeks have been a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I thought 2 weeks ago against TCU was a very surreal moment for me at Ford Stadium. And then 42-16 over Florida State happened on Saturday night, and I thought, well, there's another very surreal moment at Ford Stadium.
Back-to-back weeks, big games that were, important to us, and the coolest part is just doing it at Ford Stadium, packed. Our student section's incredible. The whole stadium was incredible. There's a picture I think our social put out maybe yesterday, like 4 or 5 clips of the crowd. And, in between the third and the fourth quarter now, we play Don't Stop Believing. Everybody gets their phones out. And it was just really cool in the background and packed and all the lights on. And so, it's just our players notice it. They talk about it. They feel it. Just talking to guys like Justin Osborne this week and some other guys, even R.J. Maryland, they're like, man, when I first got here, and then they talk about the last 2 weeks, and they're almost speechless. So it means a lot to them. So we're appreciative. Yeah,
and I think you had mentioned this in your press conference maybe yesterday. The number one in Power 4 schools for percentage increase in attendance.
Yeah, it's a Chris Smith stat over here. He's got it. But yeah, it is. It's
39.6% increase.
And like the next highest is like 11 or 12 or something percent.
Yeah.
So it's being noted.
Yeah, it is. It has been. It's been a lot of fun.
And I think our crowd's made a pretty big difference.
I think so.
I mean, we're scoring touchdowns at a crazy clip on defense, so let's go.
Yeah, first in the nation in that with 4 touchdowns on defense. I know this, though, just topping it off the other night. So on our radio broadcast on our pregame show, after we did our first segment, we're in a commercial break, and Scott Garner, my partner, just said in the middle of the commercial break, he goes, we got Florida State in here. I mean,
yeah.
We haven't had schools like that come in here, and obviously it's what we've wanted. It's part of the league here.
Yeah.
And it still was crazy to see that Seminole logo up on the scoreboard, though.
It was. I mean, but again, that's what we wanted. Our program has been there before, as we all know. Here we are 28, 29 years later. And to have a national brand like that, someone that just last year went undefeated in the regular season, won our conference, and to have – I'll tell you what it does for recruiting. We had a sold-out recruiting – like we had to turn people away for the first time ever for recruiting.
I couldn't believe the sea of recruits that came across the field pregame.
And they're not just anybody. They're good players in the next 3 classes. And so for them to get to come and, we've talked about it. We've got a bump in recruiting over the last 10 months since it was announced. But it's still seeing is believing. And until you can see us play on the field and be competitive against an ACC opponent like that, it's not totally sunk in. And, boy, I think after last Saturday it sunk in.
42-16 is how it sunk in on Saturday against Florida State. But kind of like the TCU game, the final score shows this large margin of victory, but it was a fight for a good portion. I mean, it's 14-9 at halftime. Yeah. Florida State had 2 sacks in the first half. They blocked a field goal. I mean, they were giving you everything you could handle.
Yeah, and we expected that. I mean, like I said, I think I said it last week, and if you go back to their first game of the season last season, and the conference championship game last year and the first 4 games this year, they hadn't given up over 29 points. So we really respected their defense. If you watched them in warm-ups, we lost warm-ups. If you looked across the field at their guys and you looked at ours, you're like, man, glad they don't keep scoring warm-ups because they're big, they're long, they're fast, they're athletic. So we knew it would be a battle like that. But, that's where we are. Every game's going to have that. It was still 28-16 going in the fourth quarter, and you felt like we were in control of the game, but that's a 2-score game. So that's the way it's going to be.
So much of this game was about capitalizing on opportunities. You got the Jonathan McGill interception in the second quarter, which might be the finest catch anybody's made on the team this year, and it leads to a Jordan Hudson touchdown. Ahmad Walker's interception to start the third. R.J. Maryland with a touchdown. Florida State face mask when you're punting the ball, and they did it before the punt, which was key. Got the ball back. And just drive straight down the field for another touchdown. And then Kobe with the pick 6 that kind of sealed it. That is quite the winning formula to capitalize on all that.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing is what you do with those opportunities. You're going to get opportunities that go your way and don't go your way in a game. We got the ones that did go our way we capitalized on. And the points off turnovers was a big deal. And, if you really look at the margin, you just mentioned 4, I believe, and we won by 4 touchdowns. There it is.
Kobe had the interception, the 82-yard pick six. He had 7 tackles, 2 quarterback hurries. Named the ACC linebacker of the week this week. He's making the most of his extra year here, is he not?
Is he ever? I mean, so I was down there on the end where he intercepted it, and he took off running down our sidelines, and I just see a guy running to chase him, and usually from behind that's, oh no, a fumble's coming, especially with a guy who doesn't usually carry the ball. But he evaded that one, and then the next thing you know, he's jumping over somebody just as you think he's going to go out of bounds, and now he's so far down I lost sight, so I just looked up at the screen. I watched the last 30 yards on the screen with everybody else like, oh my, and it was I was shocked. I was like, wow, that was an incredible play. He did come off later, and I said, hey, get ready. You probably have to play some running back here pretty soon.
Well, that was going to be my suggestion. That was about the most determined run we've had out there.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you get short again, put 24
So, yeah, that's been the joke this week in the office. Hey, if we lose another running back, Kobe's going to have to duel it like Junior does.
That defense just keeps creating the opportunities. 3 more interceptions. Lead the NCAA with 14 takeaways.
And we had 0 in the first game.
I said 14 in 4 games is what you have done there.
Yep.
Lead with 4 defensive touchdowns. Life is a lot easier for a play caller like you when the other side is scoring points or setting you up at the 10 or something.
100%. And, Scott and I were talking just today. We got tackled at the 1-foot line against TCU, and we got tackled at the 3 against BYU. So we were close to 2 more getting in there. And, those things kind of come in bunches. We didn't have any in the first game. Then we kind of got it going against Houston Christian, and then it's just gone. And there's a lot of momentum. Our guys play so hard. We're so aggressive. We're stopping the run. And I'm just telling you that changes everything. When you stop the run, you make somebody one-dimensional. They can no longer control the game. When you stop the run, you get them in 3rd and long, advantageous, rush the passer, tip balls, overthrows, all that stuff happens. And so they've done a great job of that. But we started it last year being very opportunistic. They've carried it over into this year, and it's a huge reason that we've won the last 2 games.
Elijah Roberts, I thought Saturday night had the most disruptive game in the backfield for a guy that was recorded 0 sacks in the game. But 6 quarterback hurries are almost – you don't get the yardage, but it's almost as good as the 6 sacks. Well, he was dominant all night.
He's playing good football. He's got like 1 sack to show for it. But I saw a deal today. He's in the top 10 in the country with quarterback pressures. I think he's got around 19 or 20, and so he's playing good football. And the great news is don't get me wrong, he wants the sacks.
Of course.
He doesn't care. We're winning and we're playing great defense, and he's as happy as anybody else, like a captain should be, like the leader he is. I think he knows he's playing good football, and just for a guy like him, just like the turnovers on defense, just give it time. Those hurries are going to turn into sacks here pretty quick. And but he's also just playing the run well. He's playing all around really good football.
I loved Scott Simon's game that he called the other night defensively for you. So many different looks for blitz packages. The Kobe pick six is one where I think he may have fooled him because he was up to blitz.
Yep.
And he dropped it and he threw it right to him. You just kind of give Scott free reign to design all these things and call it what he wants.
Oh, yeah, he's like a mad scientist. And I was actually talking with Ricky Hundley and Maurice Crum today after practice in the locker room about it. And, the stuff that they've got for this week, it's the same way it is every week for a defensive coordinator. It's kind of like an offensive guy getting his trick plays and shots. They're like, ooh, 3rd down and long. So, there's a saying in football, especially on defense, you stop the run, you can have some fun. If you stop the run, you get them 3rd and 7 or longer. Here we go. So it allows his creativity as a ball coach on the defensive side. And I've always thought this about Scott. He kind of calls the game as a defensive coordinator kind of like an offensive coordinator calls the game. He's got an aggressive and almost like a scheming mentality where a lot of defense coordinators like, here's my calls, I'm going to call them and adjust out to whatever you do. And he's a little more calculated than that.
I enjoyed what I saw on the SMU social from your halftime. And you mentioned here a minute ago you lost warm-ups.
Yeah.
But you told the guys at halftime physicality was the whole difference, and let's do it again. And that's become something that's kind of new for us around here, I think.
I think, the coolest thing is the last 2 games, and not that we haven't been all 5 games this year, but in particular we won, and we were by far and away the most physical team on the field that night, offensively, defensively, special teams. That's an edge and a culture that you can only develop over time, and you've got to play good defense to be able to say that about your program. But we're running the football on offense. We have good balance. So, now we have to keep it up. That's the thing is, we said before the season you got 10 straight games. We've only played 3. So for 7, can we keep that level of physicality going? And that's going to be a big key for us.
This is the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley. We're here Wednesday night, 7 o'clock at Ozona Grill and Bar and on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page, but not next week because of the bye week, so you can join us again here in 2 weeks. This Saturday, SMU is at Louisville. It's an 11 a.m. kick. It's on Big ESPN. We'll also have the radio call on Sports Radio 96.7 and 1310 The Ticket. The Boulevard is back in November. Simplify your tailgate planning and upgrade your game day at the biggest SMU games this season. Full-service tailgates are selling fast. Contact Rebel XP at 214-935-1683 for more information. All right, talked a lot of defense. Let's talk offense. Very balanced performance, 254 through the air, 204 on the ground. You got to love seeing that, especially with the running back woes we talked about with the injuries you had.
Yeah, no, especially like you said, we get through the first quarter in 7-7, and then Brashard gets dinged up. And so we have Roderick and we have Derek McFall. We had there was nobody else available,
the
and so
to see who else was called running back.
They were telling us they thought he'd be okay. They're going to take him in the locker room for a minute, bring him back, and fortunately he was good. But I think our O-line deserves a ton of credit because our O-line and our tight ends, like you see the explosive runs, everybody can see that. But I don't want to call them bad runs. Our not great runs are going for 1, 2, 3 yards, 4 yards. Like they're not allowing penetration. We're not having a lot of negative plays. And that's the biggest deal of any is, negative plays are what sets you back on offense, whether it be via a penalty, a sack, or a tackle for loss. And so I think they're doing a great job of covering up the first level, as Coop was saying, and getting our guys in space and get them to the second level and letting their ability take over. But when we can run the ball, we can now control the game. Mm-hmm. And, I think that's what you've been able to see. It's allowed us to be efficient throwing the football and play with some tempo.
You talked about your O-line last week. I talked with both you and with your O-line coach, Garen Justice, about that impressive defensive line Florida State had. They still are impressive, I think. Definitely physically they are. They had 3 sacks. 2 were early. The last one was kind of a cheapie, I think, on a scramble.
Yeah.
You have to be pleased with where your 5 up front, and really 6 with Savion mixing in there too, are playing right now.
I am. I think the last 2 weeks we've started developing some continuity. We already had talked about those 4, and I think they're all in the best position for them. And the first week, Chambly probably played a little bit more against TCU, but they both played. Last week, Savion played actually more than Chambly, but they both played. And their starting 4 are all going to play on Sundays. The 2 guys inside were massive. They got 2 really good edge rushers, and I think, like I said, Garen's as good as there is. Never have had any doubt. We're going to be challenged on the road this week. You got all the other factors with crowd noise, and they're a really aggressive blitzing defense, and so we're going to be challenged again this week. But they're really taking strides, and I think we got a chance to get better and better.
For Kevin Jennings, career-high passing yards for him, career-high 3 passing touchdowns. Do you feel like he's really settling in and commanding your offense now?
I do. I think you could just tell he's comfortable playing. I think you could kind of sense it. We hit Jordan on the flea flicker. It goes to 14-7, and from that point on, I felt like he was really sharp. I felt like you could feel it, with some of the throws to Brashard, a couple big third-down throws. He had a big third-down throw to Jordan Hudson on the sidelines. He scrambled on the first drive, obviously, to Jake. Another big throw to Jake on 3rd and like 12 or 13 down the middle. But then the 2 throws to RJ, like you could just kind of tell he was feeling it and he was feeling comfortable. And like I said, I think I said either after the game or somewhere since the game, it felt like the game is slowing down a little bit for him, and that's a really fast defense, and he still looked fast.
Yeah.
But it didn't look like things were going fast up here, and that's a big thing at quarterback. So, again, great challenge for him coming this week, going on the road, one of the better away venues in our league. Mm-hmm. How are we going to handle all that?
Yeah, you mentioned the 3 throws that stuck out for me. The one on the scramble, deep downfield to Bailey,
and
then 2 completely different throws to R.J. Maryland.
Yeah.
He just dropped it right in over the DB on the first one, and the second one was the K.J. Dart that I've seen plenty
shoulder.
of. I mean, those are impressive throws.
They are, and even the one to Brashard that he caught was like similar to the second touchdown for R.J. I mean, but they're all signs of a guy who's playing with confidence and not thinking, just reacting and trusting himself, trusting his teammates. But you're right. The first throw he made on 3rd down, I think it was 3rd and 5 when we got a false start. So it was 3rd and 10, first drive of the game. Yeah. And he kind of avoids the D tackle, scrambles to his right, and throws a dart seam back across his body. Like the level of difficulty on that's like a 9-7.
Uh-huh.
And he made it look pretty easy. So that got us going. We scored, and that was big to start fast.
Yeah, it gave us a feeling on the broadcast that he was in for a good night. when he pulled that play
Me
off.
too.
Speaking of R.J. Maryland, of course, he had a big game in the opener. Then he's been quiet for 3 weeks and then had 2 touchdowns, obviously Saturday night. What was the difference in between here?
Obviously he came out huge in that second half of the first game. The second game really doesn't count.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time it was like 28-0, and I think he had 1 catch. BYU, we've kind of relived our poor offensive performance in general there, and then against TCU, I mean, the game was another unique game, but people know who he is. I mean, every week you see an opposing coach's video conference, and they talk about SMU's tight end. And so there's a lot of eyes on him. Mm-hmm. We moved him around. I think our offensive staff did a good job this last week. They moved him around a lot more. You saw him in a bunch of different places. There was a couple opportunities that were intended for him. The ball got knocked down or whatever, and some things we didn't have to get to. But look, he's a weapon, and he can play in a lot of different spaces. But I know this: when you flex him out wide and they run a linebacker out on him, that's good for us.
Yeah. Or a single safety sometimes too.
Single safety too, but definitely a linebacker.
Definitely a linebacker.
Yeah.
It stinks we're not going to be back at Ford Stadium until a month from tonight.
I know it. I mean, because it's been so incredible the last 2 weeks, and so. But that's the way the season goes, right? We get to be at home a lot in September, home a lot in November. So we got to go do our part these next 3 games on the road in October and fight our way back to Ford Stadium.
Yeah, they don't get any easier, do they?
No, they don't. But that's what we asked for.
That's what we asked for, absolutely. And this Saturday, it's going to be SMU at Louisville. Again, 11 a.m. is the kickoff against the 22nd-ranked Cardinals. We'll talk about them coming up here in a few moments on the show. Time now for our Ask the Coach segment, brought to you by SMU Cox School of Business. Learn while you earn with the SMU Cox School of Business online MBA. Ranked number 12 in the nation by Fortune, our part-time online program offers you the flexibility to keep working and keep earning while learning from the same experienced faculty that teach on campus. Visit smu.edu/Cox/Pony Express for details. Let's get to some questions from our audience here tonight. First one. How satisfied are you with the development of both your offense and defensive lines?
Yeah, very, very. We're in a good position, so very satisfied to date. I felt like our D-line depth was going to be really good for us, and man, the way those guys have played, I knew we could. We may not have, to your point, the sack numbers at this point, but we've got a lot of pressures. Mm-hmm. We're affecting quarterbacks the last 2 weeks. But what I've really been most impressed with is how we've dominated the line of scrimmage and stopping the run on defense. And then offensively, again, we've talked about moving some parts around, but really still they've been very steady. If we can stay healthy, I think that's a really good unit. So overall, very satisfied where we are 5 games in, and excited for the opportunity to see where we stand on the road this week.
And it shouldn't be any huge surprise. We talked about this week one, going into week 1. This is where you focused, especially your transfer portal stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, without having a full cycle like we will this next year, it's a challenge to get ready for, again, we've played 3 of the 10, just the week in, week out, whether it's a couple guys get banged up like Tank Booker, whether he can go or not this week. What's next after that, So what's the drop-off from your first to your second group, not just what can our first group do. And so we did the best we could. We felt like we added depth. Those guys have responded well, and those guys have played a lot of ball. And so far, I think that's been the difference for us.
Next up, this is probably your biggest road test since the OU game early last season. Anything the staff does differently during the week to prepare the team for a more difficult opponent on the road like this?
Yeah, not a ton. A lot of the guys were here, and some of the guys that have transferred in that weren't here have kind of played in these environments. So that's a positive for us. But it doesn't matter, right? The guys could have played here for 3 years, and we're still going on the road in a hostile environment, and the way the momentum swings go against you on the road is a whole lot different than they do at home. The only thing we kind of do different, really it's more offensively like we did it today. We went inside the indoor the second half of practice, cranked up crowd noise, and made our guys execute third down and red zone and some stuff where they really can't hear each other very well. So they've got to lock in, they got to focus, they got to listen for the quarterback's voice and not all the other stuff, and just have a different level of focus. Because that's what's going to be now. It's not going to be quiet on third down anymore like it's been the last few weeks.
Right. I don't know if it's been that quiet on third down.
Well, it's supposed to be when we have the ball, not when our defense is out there.
Question here. Of course, we had a field goal blocked on Saturday. Is there an individual responsible for that? Is it random? Are there things you teach to try to prevent things like that?
I mean, obviously we got beat at our left wing and left tackle. Yeah. and your left wing and your left tackle, the shortest distance to the kicker, right, is through here. They're supposed to go out here, and we extended out on the widest rusher and let the second guy split them, which you can't do. I mean, you that's kind of 101. It wasn't good ball by us. You saw – well, when we were playing TCU, you saw it happen to UCF a couple times
3 times
in the week
in that
before.
game,
And one of the kicks, I think it was the last one, they blocked the same way our kick got blocked. I think they got away, credit to them, with 2 guys being offsides. But it didn't matter. We didn't execute. If we executed, it wouldn't have mattered, and we didn't, and we let them split us, and that can't happen.
You're familiar with Marcus Hunt, right?
I am.
That guy, it didn't matter if they had all their assignments right. That guy had the most unbelievable trick of blocking field goals.
I believe it.
It was fun.
He's a big dude. Probably just stood and raised his hand.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
He blocked some with his elbow because he got such deep penetration.
I believe it.
He made me pay attention to extra points because never knew when it was going to get blocked. So, next up, with multiple running back injuries, do you have a plan to try to keep everything balanced? Maybe to protect guys. I don't know.
Balanced in terms of who asked the question? Anybody want to own it? No?
No?
All right. Coop, you didn't ask the question.
Balanced in terms of workload? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yes and no. I mean, we're going to do – so here's the thing about coaching, at least for me. Like, you can't deal with the past because it's not coming back, and you don't know what the future is going to be. We're going to deal with each week, 1 week at a time. And we're going to do whatever we can to try to win the game this Saturday. And then we'll worry about who's playing running back the next week,
right?
If that's the issue. And so, fortunately, we get LJ back this week. Rashard's fine. So we have 4 healthy running backs going into this game. So while we have lost 2 really good ones in Kamar and Jalen for the season, we still have good depth, especially with Junior's ability to kind of play everywhere. And so, we're going to do, if we need to throw it more or run it more this week, whatever that is, or who needs to carry it 30, 40 times or 10 times, we're going to do that this week to win, and then we'll adjust the plan the next week if we have to. It's a good question.
By the way, did Junior play any snaps at receiver last week?
No, but he caught some passes at running back.
Yeah, he caught some out.
Yeah, last week we kind of had a good idea early in the week, so we moved Roderick full-time to running back, and RJ was going to play out wide a lot more by design.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Finally here, if you ever have any free time, what is your favorite thing to do?
Hang out with you, Scarlett.
There you go.
Where is she? There she is. My girl Scarlett asked that question.
Somehow hers always makes
We like
through.
jumping on the trampoline. We like going to the gas station.
Going to the gas station?
Oh, it's like Disney World, man. They get to get candy. Are you kidding me?
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, yes, that's what I like to do with my free time.
Oh, you got free time next week, right?
No.
It's a bye week. You got free time.
Bye week just means we don't play a game. There's no free time from August to February, but it's all good.
This is the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock here at Ozona Grill and Bar. This week it is SMU at Louisville. Don't forget we have our Pony Up pregame show here on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page. It'll be 2 hours before kick, 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. So have breakfast with us as we get you ready for the 11 o'clock kick with Louisville. And it is time to meet the enemy. It's brought to you by Ozona Grill and Bar on Greenville Avenue. The best patio in town and happy hour from 4 to 7 every Sunday through Friday. Specials including free chips and salsa. Ozona Grill and Bar. Find your comfort zone. Louisville 3-1 on the year, 1-0 in the league, but coming off their first loss, 31-24 at Notre Dame last Saturday. They're 22nd in both polls, and they gave Notre Dame everything they could handle for sure last week, I thought.
They did, and look, they lost the game on the road 31-24. They gave Notre Dame the ball inside the 5 twice.
I know.
And so,
that's a good formula. Your defense does that,
Yes, but other than like 2 or 3 or 4 plays, they win that game. So it's a really good football team. I got a ton of respect for Jeff. Just in 22, I think it was, he took Purdue to a conference title game.
Yep.
In the very first year, here takes Louisville to a conference title game. They're very well coached. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, Jeff Brom, their head coach. I don't think y'all have really crossed paths with each other. No. But, boy, his family, they're legends up there. His dad played quarterback there. Jeff played quarterback there. Brian, his offensive coordinator, played quarterback. That's quite a family legacy.
They were great quarterbacks there.
Yeah.
They've been great coaches there as assistants. Left, come back now where – obviously, he's a fantastic fit, and so,
Their quarterback, he's been around too. Tyler Shuck, 25 years old. He turned 25 Saturday at that Notre Dame game. His third school he's at. 1,114 yards, 11 touchdowns. I was really impressed Saturday, especially with his arm strength. I mean, he can run left and drop down sidearm and bring it to anybody.
Yeah, he's I think he's like 11-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, playing really, really at a high level. You know, if you kind of think when we were going to play TCU, we knew the quarterback and 3-receiver combo was really good. They've got that.
Yeah.
They got Ja'Cory Brooks, who we know well because he's from South Florida when we were at Miami, transfer from Alabama, playing at a high level. They got a couple other really good wideouts. They got speed. And so when you got a guy like that playing with a lot of confidence and you got a play caller like Jeff Brom who knows how to develop quarterbacks, knows how to put them in good positions for success, it's a really, really stiff test for our defense.
Yeah, Ja'Cory Brooks, their leader, with 22 catches, but Chris Bell's got a couple of long touchdowns.
And they make wow catches.
Yeah.
They're making some, like, SportsCenter top 10 catches every week.
Colin Lacey did. It was his first game last week after coming back from, I believe, a collarbone, made a one-handed diving grab. This guy caught 91 balls at South Alabama last year.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, they got 3 guys who don't just make catches when they're open. They definitely doing that. But they make contested catches. And so, you know, you guys think what Rashee Rice was doing for us 2 years ago. They got guys doing that kind of stuff, and that's a challenge because you can be in the right place, and if you have a quarterback who knows how to throw them open or put the ball away from the defender and give them chances, they make plays.
Last week they faced Riley Leonard, the Notre Dame quarterback. He could run a bit. Boy, they weren't afraid to bring it after him. I assume you expect more of that for Kevin here today.
I do. They have a very veteran defensive staff. They do a good job mixing their coverages with pressure, but they have an extensive base and down and third down pressure package. They were extremely aggressive against Notre Dame to stop that run. Look, you know, they've already even talked about they got to affect the quarterback this week. That's every week, but I get what he's saying. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a heavy dose of pressure, and we're going to have to handle it well.
Their one defensive end, Ashton Gelati, they kind of use him a lot like Elijah Roberts,
Yes.
I think. He was a second-team All-American last year. He plays end until they go to get after the quarterback. He'll move inside, won't he?
He plays inside on third down, and he's a problem on guards. And I think he's number 9, I believe. He's a really good football player. And their other defensive end is a really good player. Probably reminds you of Turbo for us, Isaiah Smith. So they've got some weapons to get after the passer too.
You coached one game there, right, in 2020 at Miami?
Yep, it was
but
COVID.
I gotta say, it wasn't
So
the atmosphere
there was
we're going to see.
No, it was a night game. COVID. It was actually college game day, but nobody was there.
Right.
But no, it's you know, in our league you hear about Clemson, you hear about Virginia Tech. Well, now you hear about Ford Stadium, but you hear about those places. Louisville's right up there. It's loud. They've closed the stadium in, done some renovations recently. It'll be electric right after game day kicks off, and we'll go straight to ESPN on Saturday.
Do you worry at all about, the last 2 weeks we've talked about, they've been so electric here at home, and big win, 108 points the last 2 weeks. Do you worry about your guys thinking about that at all, or is this team that focused?
I don't worry about them thinking about that. What you worry about is, when we're playing, our guys have done a good job of not being emotional, but there's just a natural human emotion after 2 moments like that, and you got to get right back up for another big game. And then the physicality that, again, I feel like we delivered, but they were physical games from the other opponent too. And so, again, back to back to now back, going 3 straight. We're going to go on the road. So you go in a hostile environment. We get, we don't have, our Ford Stadium backstop for us anymore. And then just the physicality from week 1 to week 2 to now week 3 without a bye. That's what you worry about, is like from a physicality where our guys have. So far this week they've been good. I know they're going to be ready to play. I know our staff will have them prepared. I know they're preparing well. But those are honest, normal things that you wonder, how are we going to respond the 3rd week in a row of what we knew a few weeks ago was going to be a really hard stretch.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you are too.
I am too. We got some guests here today, don't we? What group? What are you guys from?
These are the fight elts that came
Let's
out
go.
tonight.
Appreciate you guys being here, man. So, for Kevin, any of you guys in Cox School of Business? Yeah, please raise your hand. Yeah? Yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay, good. So were we debating who the most famous alum from this group was?
It's either Doak Walker or Bob Sharp. I mean, who we got?
You guys think it's Bob or the Doak, huh? What do we think? Or maybe someone here.
Maybe.
Hey, appreciate you guys being here tonight. I'm sure a lot of you guys were there on Saturday. Thanks a lot, man. It means a lot.
Yes, great crowd here tonight. Thanks for everybody who came out tonight. Reminder, no show next week. 2 weeks from tonight is when we'll be back here for the next show. All right, Saturday, 11 a.m. kick, 10:30 the radio pregame on 96.7 and 1310 the ticket, and then kickoff on the ticket and on ESPN. Coach, look forward to it, and let's do it again on the road this week, shall we?
Go Stangs, pony up.
All right, and again, thanks for everybody coming out tonight for the Pony Express Show with Rhett Lashley.
The Pony Express Show with head coach Rhett Lashley has been presented by SMU Cox School of Business, your ally for life, and hosted at Ozona Grill and Bar on Greenville Avenue. Find your comfort zone. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Mustang Sports Network.